Hello everyone, and welcome back to Canada Pension Guide. I'm Joseph, and I'm here today to talk about something that's been generating a lot of questions and some confusion among Canadian seniors and those approaching retirement. You may have seen headlines or heard from friends about a new CRA rule involving automatic payments starting in February 2026, and I know many of you are wondering what this actually means for you and your monthly income. Before we go any further, I want you to know that in this video, I'm going to walk you through exactly what has been confirmed, what the government has actually announced, and how this might affect your financial situation in the months ahead. This is important because when you're living on a fixed income, every dollar matters, and understanding how the system works can mean the difference between leaving money on the table and receiving every benefit you've rightfully earned over a lifetime of hard work and contributions to this country. Now, if you're like many Canadians in or nearing retirement, you're probably feeling the pressure of rising costs. Groceries cost more than they did a year ago. Heating your home through a Canadian winter is more expensive. Prescription medications, property taxes, insurance, all of these essential expenses keep climbing, and for many seniors, your income doesn't climb at the same rate. You worked hard, you paid into the system, and now you're counting on Canada Pension Plan, Old Age Security, and the Guaranteed Income Supplement to provide the foundation of financial security you were promised. So when you hear about changes to how payments are processed or delivered, it's completely natural to feel concerned, to want clarity, and to make sure you're not going to miss out on anything you're entitled to. That's exactly why I'm making this video today, and I encourage you to stay with me right to the end, because I'm going to explain not just what's changing, but more importantly, what you need to do to ensure you continue receiving your full benefits without interruption. Let me start by addressing what we know for certain. The Canada Revenue Agency and Service Canada have been working for several years now to modernize and streamline the way benefits are delivered to Canadians. This includes everything from the application process to how payments are calculated and deposited into your bank account each month. The goal, as stated by the federal government, is to reduce barriers, minimize paperwork, and ensure that eligible seniors automatically receive the benefits they qualify for without having to jump through unnecessary hoops. This is particularly important for programs like the Guaranteed Income Supplement, which historically has had lower take-up rates than it should because some seniors either don't know they're eligible or find the application process too complicated or intimidating. So, what exactly is this automatic payment system that's being discussed? Well, the government has confirmed that starting in the 2026 tax year, they are implementing what's called an automatic enrollment process for certain benefits. What this means in practical terms is that if you are already receiving old age security and you file your income tax return each year, the CRA will use the information from your tax return to automatically determine whether you qualify for the Guaranteed Income Supplement. If you do qualify and you're not already receiving it, they will automatically enroll you and begin sending you those monthly payments without you having to fill out a separate application. This is a significant change because in the past, even if you were eligible for GIS, you had to apply for it separately, and many seniors either didn't know about this requirement or didn't realize they qualified based on their income level. Now, let me be very clear about the timeline here because I know dates matter when you're planning your finances. The automatic enrollment process is scheduled to begin with benefits that would be paid starting in the summer of 2026. Based on your 2025 tax return. So if you file your taxes in the spring of 2026 for the 2025 tax year and your income is below the threshold for GIS eligibility, Service Canada will automatically process your enrollment and you should start receiving those payments in July of 2026. That's the confirmed timeline we're working with based on current government announcements. Let me explain why this matters so much, especially for lower-income seniors. The Guaranteed Income Supplement is a monthly non-taxable benefit paid to old age security recipients who have a low income and live in Canada. For the current benefit year, which runs from July 2025 to June 2026, the maximum monthly GIS payment for a single person is approximately $1,075. For a couple where both receive OAS, each person can receive up to around $650 per month in GIS. These are not small amounts. Over the course of a year, we're talking about nearly $13,000 for a single senior, or over $15,000 combined for a couple. That kind of money makes a real difference when you're trying to cover rent, food, utilities, and medication on a fixed income. The problem has always been that not everyone who qualifies for GIS actually receives it. Studies have shown that somewhere between 200,000 and 300,000 eligible Canadian seniors are not receiving the guaranteed income supplement they're entitled to, primarily because they didn't know to apply or didn't understand the process. That represents tens of thousands of dollars each year that vulnerable seniors are missing out on simply because of administrative barriers. The automatic enrollment system is designed to fix this problem by removing the need for a separate application if you're already in the system and filing your taxes regularly. Now, I want to talk about who benefits most from this change and who needs to pay attention. If you are currently receiving both OAS and GIS, this automatic system likely won't change much for you in terms of process because you're already enrolled. However, you still need to file your income tax return every single year, even if you have very little or no income to report, because that tax return is how Service Canada determines your ongoing eligibility and calculates your payment amount for the next benefit year. This is absolutely critical. I cannot stress this enough. If you don't file your taxes, your GIS payments will stop. The system relies on your annual income information to verify that you still qualify and to calculate how much you should receive. If you are currently receiving old age security but not GIS, this is where the automatic enrollment could really help you. Perhaps your income has always been just slightly too high to qualify, but maybe your situation has changed. Maybe you've stopped working, or maybe investment income has decreased, or maybe your spouse has passed away and your household income has dropped. If your income for the 2025 tax year falls below the GIS threshold and you file your taxes in early 2026, the system should automatically pick this up and enroll you starting that summer. You won't need to call Service Canada, you won't need to fill out forms. It should happen automatically as long as your tax return is filed. Let me give you a practical example to illustrate how this works. Let's say you're a 72-year-old single woman living in Ontario. You've been receiving old age security of about $750 per month, which is the approximate maximum OAS amount before any clawback. You worked part-time until last year and had an annual income of around $22,000, which put you just slightly above the threshold for receiving GIS. But this year, you fully retired, and your only income is your OAS and about $5,000 from a small RRSP withdrawal. When you file your 2025 tax return in March of 2026, your total income will be well below the threshold, probably around $14,000 or $15,000. Under the old system, you would need to know to apply for GIS separately. Under the new automatic system, Service Canada should see from your tax return that you now qualify, and they should automatically start sending you GIS payments, likely somewhere in the range of $600 to $700 per month, starting in July 2026. That would increase your total monthly income from around $750 to approximately $1,450, nearly doubling your income without you having to do anything beyond filing your taxes. Now let's talk about eligibility thresholds because understanding these numbers is crucial. For the current benefit year, a single senior can have an annual income of up to approximately $21,900 and still qualify for at least some GIS. If your income is very low, under $5,000 per year aside from OAS, you would qualify for the maximum GIS payment. As your income increases, the GIS amount gradually decreases until you reach that upper threshold where you no longer qualify. For couples, the income threshold is higher, around $28,900 combined if both receive OAS, or around $52,000 if only one receives OAS. These thresholds are adjusted annually for inflation, so they do increase slightly each year to keep pace with the cost of living. It's also important to understand what counts as income for GIS purposes. This includes employment income, self-employment income, most pension income including CPP and private pensions, RRSP and RRIF withdrawals, interest and dividend income, rental income, and certain other sources. However, there are some things that don't count as income for GIS calculations, including OAS itself, GIS itself, lottery winnings, inheritance, gifts, most COVID-related benefits from previous years, and the basic non-refundable personal tax credit. Understanding what does and doesn't count can help you plan your finances to maximize your GIS eligibility if you're close to the threshold. Now, I want to address something I've seen causing confusion online and in some conversations. There have been some misleading claims suggesting that everyone will automatically receive additional money or that there's some new universal payment coming in February 2026. That is not accurate. What's changing is the enrollment process for existing benefits, making it automatic rather than requiring a separate application. The benefits themselves, CPP, OAS, and GIS, are not fundamentally changing in terms of who qualifies or how much they pay. These programs are still based on your contributions, your age, your residency, and your income level. The automatic enrollment is about making sure everyone who qualifies actually receives what they're entitled to, but you still have to meet the eligibility criteria. Let me also talk about the Canada Pension Plan briefly, because I know many of you receive CPP along with OAS. CPP is separate from the automatic enrollment changes we've been discussing because CPP operates differently. You receive CPP based on your contributions during your working years, and you must apply for it when you're ready to start receiving it, whether that's at 60, at 65, or as late as 70. The amount you receive is based on how much and how long you contributed, and it's not means tested based on your current income the way GIS is. However, CPP does count as income when determining your GIS eligibility, so if you have a large CPP payment, it could reduce or eliminate your GIS entitlement. This is why some lower-income seniors who contributed less to CPP during their working years might actually receive more total monthly income because they qualify for higher GIS amounts. For context, the maximum CPP retirement pension for someone starting to collect at age 65 in 2026 is approximately $1,430 per month. But the average CPP payment is much lower, around $815 per month, because not everyone contributed the maximum amount throughout their career. Many seniors, especially women who took time out of the workforce to raise children or who worked part-time or in lower-paying jobs, receive significantly less than the average. If you're receiving a smaller CPP amount and your total income is low, this is exactly when GIS becomes so important to your financial security. Now, what do you actually need to do to make sure you benefit from this automatic enrollment system? The single most important thing is to file your income tax return every year, on time, even if you have very little income. I know some seniors think if they don't owe any taxes and aren't getting a refund, they don't need to file. That is not correct. Your tax return is the key document that Service Canada uses to calculate your benefits. If you don't file, you could lose your GIS, and it can be difficult to get it reinstated. You may have to go through a manual application process, and you could lose months of payments. So please, even if your only income is OAS and a small amount from other sources, file your taxes every single year before the deadline, which is typically April 30th. Second, make sure your direct deposit information is up to date with the CRA. Most seniors already receive their CPP and OAS payments by direct deposit, which is the fastest and most secure way to receive your money. If you're still receiving paper checks, I strongly encourage you to set up direct deposit. You can do this through your My Service Canada account online, or by calling Service Canada directly, or even by visiting a Service Canada office with a void check or bank statement. Having direct deposit set up ensures that when your GIS payments begin, they'll be deposited automatically along with your OAS, usually on the same day each month. Third, if you think you might be eligible for GIS right now and you're not receiving it, don't wait for the automatic system. You can and should apply immediately. The automatic enrollment is designed to catch people going forward, but if you're eligible today based on last year's income, you could be missing out on hundreds of dollars every month right now. You can apply online through My Service Canada account. You can call Service Canada at 1-800-622-6232, or you can visit a Service Canada office for help with the application. The application itself is not complicated. It mainly asks about your income and your living situation, and Service Canada can usually process it within a few weeks if you have all the necessary information. Fourth, be aware of the situations that might affect your benefits. If you leave Canada for more than 6 months, your GIS will stop because one of the requirements is that you must live in Canada. Your OAS might also be affected depending on how long you're away and your residency history. If your income changes significantly during the year, perhaps you receive an inheritance or sell a property, this could affect your GIS for the following benefit year. If your marital status changes, whether through marriage, separation, divorce, or the death of a spouse, you must inform Service Canada right away because this affects both your eligibility and your payment amount. These are all situations where you have a responsibility to keep Service Canada informed so your benefits remain accurate. Let me also address the issue of clawbacks because this confuses many people. Old age security has what's called the recovery tax or clawback if your individual net income exceeds a certain threshold. For the 2025 tax year, that threshold is approximately $93,400. If your income is above this amount, you have to repay some or all of your OAS. For every dollar of income above the threshold, you repay 15 cents of OAS until your income reaches about $153,000, at which point your entire OAS is clawed back. This is completely separate from GIS. If your income is high enough to trigger the OAS clawback, you definitely won't qualify for GIS because the GIS income threshold is much, much lower. The clawback is based on your individual income, not household income, so even if your spouse has a high income, your OAS is only clawed back based on your own income. I also want to emphasize that CPP, OAS, and GIS are benefits you've earned. If you're receiving CPP, it's because you and your employers contributed to the plan during your working years. If you're receiving OAS, it's because you met the residency requirements of living in Canada for at least 10 years after age 18, and for the full amount you need 40 years of residency. These are not handouts, these are not charity, these are programs designed to provide income security in retirement based on your contributions to Canadian society. You should never feel embarrassed or reluctant to claim what you're entitled to. The system was built specifically to ensure that Canadians can retire with dignity and basic financial security. For those of you who are not yet receiving OAS but are approaching age 65, let me quickly explain how that works because the automatic enrollment for GIS only applies to people already receiving OAS. Service Canada usually contacts you in the mail shortly before you turn 64 to inform you about OAS and ask you to confirm your information. In many cases, you'll be automatically enrolled in OAS and your payments will start the month after your 65th birthday. However, not everyone is automatically enrolled, especially if you've lived or worked outside Canada, or if Service Canada doesn't have complete information about you. If you don't receive a letter, or if you're unsure, you should contact Service Canada a few months before your 65th birthday to confirm your enrollment. You can apply for OAS as early as 11 months before your 65th birthday to make sure everything is in place when you become eligible. Now, as we look ahead to 2026 and beyond, it's also worth understanding that the federal government has committed to ongoing adjustments to these programs to account for inflation and the cost of living. CPP, OAS, and GIS are all indexed to inflation, which means they increase each year based on the Consumer Price Index. For 2025, benefits increased by about 2.7% compared to the previous year. For 2026, we don't yet know the exact percentage because it depends on inflation rates throughout 2025, but there will be an increase announced later this year that takes effect in January 2026. These annual increases help protect the purchasing power of your benefits, although many seniors rightly point out that their actual living costs often increase faster than the official inflation rate, especially for essentials like food, housing, and medication. There has also been discussion in recent years about further enhancements to these programs. The CPP enhancement that began in 2019 is gradually increasing the amount that working Canadians contribute and will eventually increase the benefits paid out to future retirees, though this won't significantly affect anyone who's already retired. There have been proposals from various groups to increase the basic OAS amount or to raise the GIS rates, particularly for the oldest seniors or those living alone, but as of now, these remain proposals and have not been confirmed as government policy. When evaluating any news or information you hear about changes to these programs, always look for confirmation from official government sources like the Service Canada website or the Canada Revenue Agency, and be skeptical of sensational claims that seem too good to be true. I know that managing your finances in retirement can feel overwhelming, especially when rules change or when you hear conflicting information from different sources. My goal with this channel is to cut through the noise and give you clear, accurate information based on what the government has actually announced and how the system actually works. The automatic enrollment for GIS starting in 2026 is a positive change that should help ensure more eligible seniors receive the support they deserve. But it still requires you to do your part by filing your taxes and keeping your information current. If you're watching this video and you're unsure about your own situation, I encourage you to take action. Log into your My Service Canada account if you have one, or create one if you don't. It's a secure way to see all your benefits and personal information in one place. Review your most recent notice of assessment from the CRA to see what your reported income was. If it looks like you might be close to the GIS threshold, or if your income has dropped recently, consider applying right away rather than waiting. If you need help understanding your situation, Service Canada has staff available by phone and in person who can review your specific circumstances and let you know what you qualify for. There are also community organizations across Canada, including senior centers and nonprofit agencies, that offer free assistance with benefit applications. As we wrap up today, I want to remind you that staying informed is one of the best things you can do to protect your financial security in retirement. The rules and programs are there to support you, but only if you know about them and take the steps necessary to access them. The automatic enrollment is designed to make things easier, but it's not a substitute for your own awareness and advocacy for yourself. You worked hard throughout your life, you contributed to this country, and you deserve to receive every benefit you're entitled to. I hope this video has helped clarify what's actually happening with the automatic payment system starting in 2026 and what it means for you. If you have questions about your specific situation, please leave them in the comments below, and I'll do my best to point you in the right direction. Though, of course, I can't provide personal financial advice. If you found this information helpful, please consider subscribing to Canada Pension Guide so you don't miss future videos where I break down important updates and changes that affect Canadian seniors and retirees. And if you know someone who might benefit from this information, perhaps a parent, a friend, or a neighbor who's on a fixed income, please share this video with them. Knowledge is power, especially when it comes to ensuring you receive the financial support you've earned. Thank you so much for watching today. This is Joseph from Canada Pension Guide, reminding you to file your taxes, keep your information up to date with Service Canada, and never hesitate to ask questions or seek help when you need it. Your retirement security matters, and I'm here to help you navigate the system with confidence and clarity. Take care, and I'll see you in the next video.